Okay, first of all, thank you for joining our first event. Um, thank you for joining from Sydney and also our friends in Melbourne as well. So the topic today is Seeing the World with Data Visualization with Jack Zhao. So first, about the meetup groups. So I started this group in April 2020. Basically, my goal is to create a community to connect data visualization practitioners in Sydney and Australia. Because of COVID, that changed things a little bit. So it's for us to exchange ideas, best practices, or the tools I've used, and we want to showcase your work that you have done to other people in the industry. And we also like to help people who are new to data viz to help them to learn and connect with other practitioners in the industry. So at the moment we have 176 members, I think, and my plan or goal in July is to hit 350 members and hopefully more than that. It has a second event for the group, in which I will give details later. Would like to have a new logo for the group. And then we can see I basically stole the D3 logo, which is not good. So we have a new one next month. And from next month, I'd like to send out a monthly newsletter. I think because I read a lot about data viz and I watch a lot of videos, etc. So I want to make a collection or list of the best sort of things I've seen in the previous month related to the topic. And I will put in a newsletter and send out to everyone so you have a look. We also will build a YouTube channel where we'll upload every month. We'll record every month's meetup and presentations, and then I will upload that to the YouTube channel and share with people. So if you would like to give a talk, you're more than welcome to do so, and please go to Lee's Google form. You can just scan the QR code to take it to the form. Very quick, just put in your names and what would you like to talk about, when would you like to talk, give a talk, and then we'll go from there. If you would like to join the team, when I say team, at the moment it's myself. But if you would like to, become a co-organizer of the group, please send me a message, send me an email, or send me a message in the meetup website. It's all fine. I will reply as soon as I can. So I would really recommend you to join the Data Viz Society if you have not already done so. So it's a community that is created in Europe by a data science from Netflix, I believe. It has over 10,000 people across the globe, and there's a lot of industry experts in there. They share their experience and best practices and resources, and there's a competition going on. So it's a very, very, very active and engaging community, and you can really learn a lot and benefit from a lot from the discussion there. So they have a meetup, they have a Slack channel, they have a YouTube channel, a Medium, which we really have some quality posts there. So that's the website. So you can just go in there and become a member. This one to recommend to all of you. So next month we will have Bob join us to talk about his experience in design, data journalism, and dashboard reporting. So he has a background in design, which is probably a bit different from a lot of us. We come from tech background, and I think it's really can sort of share experience from a very different perspective. And I'm sure all of us who work in data viz would like to improve our design skills. And he will, you can also ask him a lot of questions about best practice in terms of colors or layout, design, etc. So that is set on 6 p.m. 28th of July. I will create the event and send it out shortly later this week. So now let me introduce our today's speaker, Jack Zhao. So Jack is a data viz designer and he's a co-founder of Small Multiples. And he leads the creative direction and delivery of projects for Small Multiples government, media, and innovative business. He has been guest lecturing at the University of Sydney and University of Technology, Sydney. So Jack has a lot of experience in the in data viz, and he's want to share about how do we view the world differently with data visualization. All right, Jack, over to you. I will. Sorry, Jack, I couldn't find you on the list. Oh, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. All right. Did you? You should be able to share screen now. Cool.
Great. Can everyone see? Okay. All right, all good. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Aaron, for the introduction, and it's giving me this opportunity to share my work and meet such a great group of people passionate about data visualization. So I know everyone's very eager to get back to either cooking or eating dinner, so I'll keep it brief. So today's I'm going to talk about how I use data visualization to help me see the world better. And the talk will involve a number of projects I've done over the years. So a little bit about me. I moved to Australia from China at the age of 13. So I lived most of my life here now in Sydney. I studied bioinformatics at UNSW. So for those of you who don't know, bioinformatics is a degree that's 50% computer science and 50% like genetic life sciences, genetics. I can't say I enjoyed that, a little bit dry, so I switched career for my postgrad degree. So I studied interaction design and electronic arts at the University of Sydney. So they have a great program called design computing. If you are looking at furthering your studies, I encourage you to check it out. And then after that, I worked as an interactive designer / developer at the ABC and the various other similar roles in smaller agencies and corporate environment. And then in 2011, that's 9 years ago, I started Small Multiples with my partner. It's just a two-person data visualization studio. Slowly, after 9 years, we've grown to about a team of 10. So my job involves transforming data to meaningful stories, crafting experiences, and make those experiences help people gain insights and to give people the tools to help them do their job better. So a little bit about the company. These are the type of services we do in addition to just pure data visualization. We do deliver a lot of digital projects as well. So a few examples of what we do, the things that we build. So this one is a what's called a multi-omic visualization tool. So it helps scientists to study motor neuron disease like Alzheimer's. So a blood sample is taken from a patient, and the genome is sequenced, the RNA is sequenced, the proteins are also identified. So this tool allows researchers to look at the patient's condition from a holistic sort of view, on the genome level, RNA level, proteome level. So to figure out whether in this patient there's too much or too little of something, and help them design therapeutics or figure out what's the best, study the disease. So we built this tool to help them look at those connections and build a profile of this particular patient. So what's good about that's one example is, we build tools for people to do their job better. So other things we do is work with media outlets, newspapers, to do data journalism projects. So what you're seeing here is a project we collaborated with The Guardian to look at team performance in the English Premier League, and how much money they have, player salary, and how they performed over the years. So a very interactive piece that people can go to the Guardian website and play with, apply different filters. There's a link there, you can check it out. Just Google it. We also worked with Nature Journal, so that they help them visualize how the countries collaborate in scientific research. So who contributes more, and which countries work on the same research projects with which other countries. Some surprising findings. North Korea, you would think they're like the hermit kingdom, they don't work with anyone, but they actually do. There are lots of collaboration with Germany and with European nations. So this tool reveals something that you don't usually see. Reveals patterns from a very complex collaboration system. We also,
sorry, Jack.
Yep.
Jack, sorry, could you do me a favor? So
yep.
I believe there's some people in the meeting, in the waiting room.
Right.
Would you be able to let them in?
Just let me see how. Meet. Okay. I'll keep an eye on it from now.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. So apart from commercial projects, I need to mute. Apart from commercial projects, we also are occasionally during downtime we work on passion projects or side projects. So this one is an example of that. We built a augmented reality AR app to help people track the position of sun, and you can also change the time of the day to see where the sun is going to be, and change the day in the year as well to see the changes in the position, how the position of the sun will shift as seasons change through the AR camera. It's quite cool. We also built a very nice website here to promote the app. I think that you can still download the app, but we didn't have time to update the app, so it might not work on the latest iOS. But the concept is there to help people foresee where the position of the sun, and see how the sun will, where the shadows to emulate the position of the shadow. So I guess you can use the app to help you plan a photography trip, or choose a good spot on the beach. Yeah, so a little nice tool, useful toy for people to play with. So that's the kind of thing we do. So through the years of working with data visualization, it became a way for me to make sense it also became a way for me to make sense of the world. So whenever I have frustrations and questions about the things I see, uh, I can turn to the skill set I have, which is data visualization, to help me answer those questions. And especially important in a very challenging time like now. And I can tell you why about it. Um, I saw this article that titled Chinese Australian from the ABC, the most trusted news source in Australia. Chinese Australians caught in the crossfire from Beijing's Australian travel morning, blah, blah, blah. So it's about Chinese Australians, locals who are either born here or migrated here, who of Chinese ancestry, but call Australia home. But what I find troubling is that in the media portrayal of Chinese Australians or Asian Australians is problematic, because the article title suggests that this article is about the problems that people like me face in the society, but yet the photos are, and none of the photos portray people like me. The photos of tourists taking selfies and buying LV bags and swarming the tourist, the very, very pristine destinations. And it's just I find this very troubling. And this is not a new phenomenon. It started quite a while ago. So this is an article from the 2019, so last year's, before leading up to the federal election. It's people like me, we have to constantly justify our loyalty to the country and declare that we're not quote panda hugging spies. I find that extremely unnecessary, because Chinese Australians, Asian Australians move here for a better life, yet we're constantly being viewed as the other. Would never belong. But the problem of yellow peril is not new. It dated back since the founding of the Federation, after the European settlement. So if we play a game of yellow peril bingo, so taking this very old racist image to the world that we're living in now, we can actually tick a few things, right? So Chinese people are associated with disease, with cheap labor, with taking Australian jobs, also bribery and all the different vices. So I found this article from the Los Angeles. So this problem is not isolated in Australia. So Jack Zhao, if you know him from various movies, he made a very meaningful statement. So the belonging of Asian Americans / Asian Australians is conditional. So whenever something pops up, in this case COVID-19, so the public opinion turns against the Asian Americans or Asian Australians, and my opinion. I resonate with Jack Zhao's view, and I see that as a problem. So, can data visualization make a better society, for a more inclusive society, a society with less hate, less bigotry, and so going back to how what I said before. What I said. Sorry, I just need to mute someone. What I said before, I have the skill set, so I have this. I'm very eager to use it to answer answer the questions I have in my head, which is about, I guess, cultural or race identity in Australia, from my standpoint. But that's a very big problem to solve. So the first step is to ask myself, can I use data visualization to help me see the world better, which leads up to make the world better, make the world a better place. So a few years ago, I made a map that shows the top country of origin of immigrants for all the suburbs around Australia. This map became very popular because it's very simple. If a suburb if in a suburb the highest percentage of immigrant came from China, I simply color the suburb red, label the suburb China. So once I have done that for all the suburbs, the capital cities are divided into these regions where or enclaves, you might call it, of different groups. And when people see that they suddenly respond in a way that, oh yeah, it confirms their anecdotal observation around them. I live in there. Oh, I see a lot of Chinese people. I live in there. I see a lot of people from Italian people, right? So very easy to understand. But this is a very simplistic view of what's going on in Australia. And so I started the question. Okay, this project I've done a few years ago, a while ago. Perhaps this is not the best method, even though popular. Not the best method to represent the cultural diversity, the diversity of people and cultures in Australia. Perhaps it also reinforces the view that certain groups of people are, quote unquote, taking over Australia. Because I realized that the world is very messy, and sometimes simplicity is counterintuitive. It works against the truth. It hides the truth. So for the last federal election, we worked. I made this map to show, after the election result was announced, so you can get the data from Australian Electoral Commission. I mapped every vote casted at a polling booth. So every vote becomes a dot on the map, right? And by doing this exercise, there are some patterns that we can see. So instead of just the usual election map, it will just show you, okay, this electorate is won by Labor, therefore color red. But the situation is usually more complex, more nuanced than that. So the Labor may have won in that electorate or in that suburb, but by how much? How many people voted for other way? What's the mix? You can't tell from a usual choropleth single color map. So the dot density map, I chose the dot density map to show that the depth and the diversity of people, in this case, the voting behavior. So you can see, what we know already in this case. So in a city, are usually Labor or Green, a higher concentration of Labor or Green voters. More of a case in Melbourne here. And as you move towards the richer area, there's the house owners, the property owners, people tend to vote, and the older voters, they usually, North Shore, they usually vote for Labor National, the right-leaning parties that are perceived as pro-business and pro-property. And last election, Queensland was a big surprise. Labor didn't win as many seats as expected. So if we look at this bit, is Brisbane versus Byron, I think. So from a 3-hour drive, is a world of difference. From a very green, left-leaning populace, as you go up to Brisbane City, again, very metropolitan, very Labor leaning. And if you go west along the highway to the regional areas, it becomes very one nation dominated, which is the right-wing, very racist party, an independent dominated by those kind of. So you can see the divide between the regional divide, the tourist towns versus metropolitan big city, capital city versus and metropolitan versus regional. And there are several ways you can interpret this, but dot density map helps us see that it's not just pure. It's one way or the other. The situation is pretty complex, and you can see the gradual change as you move towards the regional areas. So other things I can on my journey to answer this frustration. Okay, why is the Australian society not seeing Asian Australians or Chinese Australians as the other, and why haven't things changed since the abolishment of White Australia policy, right? So decades have passed, things haven't changed. Things have improved, but still there are these problems. So I decided to look at political representation in Parliament, in federal Parliament. So there's a method of superimposing a lot of photos on top of each other and generate an average face. And Australian Parliament, the MP profile images is a very good data set for doing that, because they're all the same size. The eyes all align. The size of the person is usually above shoulder. It's very consistent. So I did that, and the result have shown me that okay, there's a problem here, because as diverse as as multicultural as Australian societies, yes, it's the people who represent us in Canberra, they are not diverse. They're usually of European or Anglo-Saxon background, usually and the difference between LNP, Liberal National Party, and Labor, not that different. So there's a disconnect between the population and the representatives who are supposed to represent this population, the interests, our interests. But I also did a similar exercise for PwC consultants. I think these are partners, but you can see the difference there. So politicians versus PwC consultants, who are, I think, by the look, is more diverse and younger as well. Very obviously younger. And then another angle I took was last month, a few weeks ago, I think. So the Black Lives Matter movement have reached Australia. The people being out there protesting, raising awareness. So I was interested in how many places in Australia are named after James Cook, Kingston, or Lachlan Macquarie, I think. So the three very key figures in the colonial era. This is a way to, okay, so I went to downloaded OpenStreetMaps data, and from there on it's quite easy. So you can just do a filter, find all the streets that contains these names, and color them, highlight them. So in Sydney, you can see that the legacy of the colonizers are left permanently everywhere. And there's I think there are a lot of people in a society that that resist change, that saying history should not be changed. We should keep the statues there, keep the streets there, in order for people to learn history. But to me, I think if something is obviously controversial, or someone obviously committed genocide, why should we be celebrating those people? Sure, those people can live in history books, but perhaps not necessary to leave a permanent mark, to have a permanent reminder that, like in your face, kind of have streets or places named after them, or have a very tall statue. So in contrast, this is how Australia or corporations been treating the indigenous culture. I don't know if you have heard. So last month, a historical site was blown up to make way for the expansion of an iron ore mine owned by Rio Tinto. So in contrast to this, there were no police presence protecting those sites. It was dynamited, and information was lacking. So I was trying to find out where Junkan Gorge, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So the site of the destruction was on Google Maps. I couldn't find it. I did another search today, slightly better. It sent me to the general area, but I still couldn't find the exact spot. So I went out and started my own investigation. I went to data.gov.au and found all the mining sites, the active operating mining sites in Western Australia. So here represented as the grey poles, and then I'll just show you the real map. Okay, and then in an academic journal, my colleague also found the historical sites all around Australia. And I was itching to practice my Mapbox skills, to do some hill shade and to do some composition of really nice maps. So out of frustration that where did this happen? Even though it was reported in mainstream media, I don't know where it was. So I made this map to answer that question. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with Mapbox. You can do quite a few some really nice, cool things. But the links in the slide, you can check it out. So this map, the Drunken Cave is here. This place was blown up, and you can see Rio Tinto probably owns the mining title around this area. They have a few mines, Brockman 4 iron mine, Brockman 4, Brockman 2 iron mine. So the site was right in the middle. So yeah, and people responded really well, because no one knew where this place was. It was very abstract, and by using data visualization, by placing these things on a map, it makes the issue real, and more difficult to just ignore. I make a lot of maps, so I'm showing a lot of map examples. Other things I've done is to look at, okay, so the people may have certain prejudice or stereotype opinions towards certain ethnic groups. For example, especially, people tend to think, that Asian people are rich, that they all take buying up properties in the best suburbs. But being being Asian Australian myself, I know that's not true. So I went out and try to find, show this using data from Australian Bureau of ABS data, census data, because they have they have data about how much people make per week and where those people's residences are. So by combining those two data, I made another dot density map in this case. So I'm colored. So each person, each person is a dot in this case. I divided the people into two groups. I don't care about the middle because average income, everyone's the same. So I looked at the high income, so people who are earning more than 100K a year. High. I'm sure if you work in data science, you make a lot more than that, but high compared to median or average income. And also looked at the lower income, so people making less than 33,000 a year. So people on the two ends of the spectrum. So immediately you can see that the wealth is still being held by people of British or Europe, especially British ancestry. And there are a lot of lower income people of Asian ancestry. And the conclusion, it's more spread out because, closer to city or close to the foreshore areas, the slightly more expensive. So by looking at these maps and quoting this, I came to the conclusion that every rich person is rich in the same way, because once you have money, of course you will choose the most desirable place to live, and every poor person is poor in different ways, and because your choices are limited, you're confined to places whether your support groups are or where your families are. You have to all these different things you have to consider. You have to live close to public transport, as you can see here, because you have to get to work, or in this case, because of the lack of choice, you are more spread out. And for high income people, because the abundance of choice, people of course choose the CBD area, or choose the Manly, choose Bondi, choose the inner west. So that shows, using this way, I hope I wanted to understand people around living in Sydney and in Melbourne as well as better. So just trying to find them. I don't have that open, but that's okay. Yeah. But showing, so far I've shown you, problem of discrimination, problem of wealth, the disparity, problem of lack of political representation, but it's a little bit depressing. But visualization can also bring hope and drive positive change through doing very simple, fun projects. So here I made a map, again, similar method. Each dot is a person, to look at what languages we speak. And this is important to me because compared to the earlier map, this shows the complexity within an area, how mixed people are within these areas. So if we look at Sydney, you can see Bankstown or Lakemba is very diverse, and I think that's what's good about Australia. People living in relative harmony together from different backgrounds, and there are, and also there are areas that are that are defined by a particular ethnicity. In the Hurstville area, in the Glebe as well. So you can see a lot of diversity, and the map is quite pretty, very pretty to look at. Again, the links in the slide, because we have limited time, we can have a play. I'll go to the website and have a play yourself. Another point is that there's the gradation is very nice. So people don't just suddenly stop living in an area at the LGA boundary or the suburb boundary. They spill over. They mix. I think that's good. Another map is, this one's a little bit different. I went and downloaded the ABN data. So whenever you start a business or start a freelance job or sole trader job work, you have to register ABN. Just let me find it. So as we know, immigrants drive a lot of, is a very important part of the economy. They come here with very little, and they work hard. They build a better, with the aim that they build a better life for themselves and for their children. And a lot of them go into business. So to show that, I was very curious to know how have immigrants transformed Australia, and to show that through by looking at what type of businesses and who owns these businesses in the capital cities and in regional areas. So first, if we look at ownership, so people sometimes the easiest way to come up with a business name, people just use their own name, and that can tell us a lot. So on this map, I merged the areas that have the same top business owner surname together, and it's quite interesting that you can see these little regions starting to form. So if you look at Eastern Sydney, there are lots of Michaels, which is an indication could be that people of the more established families who came here before the 19th pre-war or of British or European background, and then the relatively newcomers settled and started their businesses in the West. The Nguyen's, the Singh, from Vietnam, the Cabramatta area, and Blacktown, probably from India as well, and Hurstville, Strathfield here, Kim, lots of Korean business owners. So it's a very telling map to give you a sense of where the immigrants come from, where they settled, and how they made their living. And this map tells specifically how people are making their living, right? And you can see the geographical difference that presents as well. So in the richer North Shore area, lots of consulting businesses, knowledge work. Same as in the Eastern Sydney, so Bondi area, lots of consulting, property businesses, so real estate businesses in the city. But as gradually you move towards the suburbs, it becomes more services and solutions and trading, or tradies, cleaning, and as you move further into the outer suburbs, Western Sydney, but also transport. I suspect a lot of the taxi drivers or the transport workers, truck drivers, that they operate under ABN's they start their own businesses that buy taxi licenses or drive a truck. So the two maps of the same city divided. You can see these little kingdoms of by name and by trade. So that's quite cool. Same patterns is repeated in Melbourne. Lots of investment property in the city, and gradually as you move towards the eastern part, it becomes transport. So this is shows the entrepreneurial spirit of immigrants. So by visualizing the APN data, and then something fun. I don't know how many of you have kids. I have one. He's 3. He's a big fan of this Australian-made animated series called Bluey. We're a big fan too because it has a lot of jokes that parents will get it, and we're constantly making references to it in our daily conversation. So because we love it so much, and because I think Bluey is a show that embodies the new and modern Australia, the positive Australia mentality and the aesthetics, very happy and very lots of sunshine and nature. I made a visualization. So I captured each episode into one frame every 7 or 10 seconds, and and then for that frame I counted the colors being used in a particular frame, and then let me just show you Bluey. And used k-means clustering to quantize the colors and then sort the colors by hue from vertically. So this way I can see each episode has a different topic, different theme in a different setting. So the creek is about nature. They go out to a creek. You can see a lot of green, a lot of rainforest, a lot of water. Sleepy time happens at night. So the color scheme is lots of rooms with light off, and the dreams in the space. Takeaway, it's almost a single shot. It happens in front of a restaurant. The camera doesn't move much. The color palette for each frame is quite consistent throughout the whole episode. So just by counting the pixels and looking at the RGB values of the different frames, you can tell, it can reveal a lot about how they designed the story, what the plot is, and who's involved, which character is involved, how many cuts, how many shots do they switch back and forth between, now and when they remember something, they cut to a scene that happens earlier in the day. So this is such an example. So I've done that for most of the episodes because I have to wait for the episodes to come out on iView. So this is about 50 something episodes, and very different, interesting visualization to look at. I do recommend Bluey, even if you're an adult. It's a very funny, very thoughtful show. And then the last project I would like to talk about is the data visualization to how to showcase the multicultural society that we're living in, and let's not limit ourselves to the pixels. It doesn't have to be something you view on a computer screen. So we worked on this project. So it's called Not a Single Origin, if you get the meaning, because we all come from different places in the world. So I used edible media, in this case chocolate, and the idea is to use chocolate to represent ethnicity, a place. There's 12 of them in Sydney, and as people take the one piece of chocolate out and look at it, admire and then finally taste it. Somehow that information that the people, the stories, and whether the flavors that it took from them when they migrated here, it can be conveyed through taste and smell and touch. So it's a little bit more than just a visualization. It's a physicalization, or the multi-sensual or multimodal sort of way of delivery, letting people appreciate data. So the data behind this is from ABS census data, and we also took some streets from that place, from that suburb, and 3D printed a mold that can that puts the streets of those places on the surface of the chocolate. So the whole point is data visualization. Yes, you can use it to look at very serious, very heavy stuff and be depressed about it, and raise awareness. Very important work, but sometimes you just gotta go out there and make some chocolate and have some fun. And these projects such as this can also generate interest about certain issues, about how do we make Australia a better place, a more inclusive, a more loving place. Yeah, and I think the more people do these kind of things, because that's why you're here. You'll want to learn, see more of these kind of projects and learn more about data visualization. The more of us are out there doing this kind of good work, the collectively we can push the society forward and make the world a better place. And that's all for me. If you have any questions, please ask. But otherwise, we're still working from home 3 days a week, but 2 days we're going into the office. Our office is located in Chippendale. So if you whenever you want to meet up, can have a coffee, but keep out social distance. But yeah, contact me on Twitter, email, whatever. But if you have questions now, please ask. And that's all for me.
Okay, thanks, Jack. It's really interesting. I hope everyone finds it interesting as well. If you have any questions, please ask Jack. No? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the event today. Thanks again, Jack. And I hope to see everyone again in our next meetup, which is the end of July. With Bob, we talk about design and design thinking and data visualization. So, oh, we have a question here, Jack. So what's your next project?
Next project. Not sure. Because sometimes because I'm in charge of marketing for small multiples, so I have to come up with ideas. So the Bluey idea I had it for a while, finally got the time to do it. We did it. Sometimes I look at news, and there's an issue I want to explore, such as the how Rio Tinto blow up a historical site, and then I do it the next day. Sometimes it can be quite random. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question right now, so Sylvia. But yeah.
Maybe you could have said how COVID-19 has changed Australia or changed the world. I'm sure there will be a lot of data viz about COVID coming up.
Yeah. Well, I actually have done a couple of COVID related stuff. on our blog or on my website. So we looked at the occupational risk for different jobs, measured by the exposure to disease and how much they have physical contact with other people, and ranked those jobs. So there is a COVID related project on the website. But yeah, let's look at the change. How COVID has changed the country is also something we can do, but just need to find the right data and the right angle, the right story. Mark, any websites recommended for data visualizations? You can check out Flowing Data. It's a very good blog / resource. So Flowing Data. Another good resource is called Visualizing Data, maintained by Andy Kirk. He's posts a lot of examples and saves you a lot of time. But just go into the website and check out what the best projects in that month, and he also offers training as well. So Flowing Data and Visualizing Data.
Yeah, on that. So I think in July, I do have a very long list of these websites, books, and the resources that can help. That's really useful and it's fun to look at. You can learn a lot from that. So I will send it out. I'll put them together and send out to everyone very soon.
Yeah. I'll tidy the slide up and upload a PDF to Google Drive and share the link. Cool.
No more questions?
No more questions. We'll call on the night. Everyone can have dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hungry too. All right. Thanks, everyone. You have a great night and a great week ahead and a great month ahead. I will see you in July.
Yeah,
thank you.
Stay safe. We'll see you in July. Bye.
Bye-bye.